Right.
Now,
Yeah, it's about this.
right, and remember, it's gonna be a little bit about Abraham Lincoln, that very famous president.
Oh, right. Like last time we talked about this Lincoln, President Lincoln.
Right, but it's gonna be like when he's a young boy, she's a young girl. You'll see Jane's discovery. All right, so this is taking place quite a while ago. Okay, yeah. So the year is 1825, right?
Oh, it's quite early.
Yeah. It's quite a long time ago. Well, because also the Civil War in the United States was also a very long time ago.
Ah, right. I always I know like I learned the history, but I always consider he's a people more modern, like well, they just died recently, but I didn't think he's a man who lived long time ago.
Right. Okay, so now you know. All right, so why don't we just start reading? You want to read that? Jane slammed the door.
Jane slammed the door of the log cabin. It's carbon.
I'll explain that. I'll show you. Go ahead.
Right.
And
raced towards Ita.
This is called. This is a place in America, Indiana.
Indiana. Like I heard about that. Indiana.
Right. Woods.
Mother and father insists that Jane go to school and learn to read. It was September of 1825.
Good.
And Jane wanted to help on the farm like her brothers. Therefore, she told her parents no and refused to learn to read.
Okay, now let me just explain something about log cabin. It's very American, very, very American. And I'm going to just show you. Yeah, okay. Hang on just for a second here. These are special houses in the old days.
I might show that. Yeah, that's this one. Like last time, we just researched for this too.
Right. Okay. So this is a typical log cabin. This is made of, logs of trees, and I want to see if I just want to show you something like how they actually lived. All right. This is a very beautiful one. This is very small. But you see, this is actually quite well done. This is a new one, but this is close to what it looked like in 1825. Like they may have all lived in only one room.
Oh, I understand. Like
maybe two rooms at the very most. Like they all slept in one room, and then So okay, so that's that. Now let's go back to that. All right, so she's saying, I don't want to go to school. I want to help on the farm. All right.
Like it's so special because every article I read is about how a girl wants to go to school to learn something. But it's a girl who refused to go to school. Wow.
Right, and that's because many people did not go to school then. They just worked on the farm because, it was, let me give you this word too. It was about survival.
Like they're at war.
No, it's not war. It's survival.
I understand.
Whatever you have to do to live is survival. Yeah.
Survival.
So anything. So you're trying to survive means you're almost fighting for your life. You're kind of fighting for your life. So it's very important for survival to grow food, or else you die.
All right.
Yeah? Okay. All right. So that's why I just want you to know that word, because it's a good word for you to know, survival. Okay. So Jane, do you want to read that? Jane scooped up her long skirts and splashed
through a small stream.
Uh-huh.
Running helped her collect her thoughts, so he ran for what seemed like hours. She
Right.
dashed around a tree and wasn't paying attention. As a result, he tripped over a pair of long legs stretched
Stretched
out,
out in the grass.
stretched out in the grass.
Right. Now, one more thing. This word is not tripped, it's tripped.
Tripped.
Right. So you want to understand what the word tripped is?
Like,
Stumbled.
actually, I don't know, but it's like just be. I can't imagine that scene, like a boy just sat there and with his leg, strict, and the girl just ran from the other side and didn't pay attention to that. So they just like the girl just kind of already fall off.
Right. So here we go. Tripped.
Yeah.
And then this is tripped over. She tripped over his legs. So, or another word is stumble.
Stumble.
Stumble is another word. Like
Mhm.
if you fall down in the street, you stumbled. You
Right.
let me just explain this too. Okay. So I just want to go over this with you. So Jane scooped up her long skirts. In those days, they all wore long skirts. I mean, I
when
mean,
she wants to run, when she wants to run, she needs to just grow, like make its shoulder.
Right. So she pulled it up so she could run. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, so she just, the legs, all right, so let's continue. I think you understand that. The legs belong to her neighbor.
The legs belong to her neighbor,
Abe
Abe.
Lincoln. Abe
Abe
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
Lincoln.
That's the president when he's young.
Mm-hmm.
Abe
Abe was leaning against a tree reading a book. He smiled, stood up, and extended his arm to help Jane up.
Right. Now, by the way, this word is leaning against a tree.
Right. There is no R in there.
Yeah, right. I just wanted you to see that. Yeah. Okay. So he's leaning against the tree and he's reading a book. All right. Let's see if we can get. So here is a partial picture of him here. So here he is. Here's the scene. Him reading a book. And let's continue reading here. Okay. Jane recognized Abe.
Jane recognized Abe and knew what a hard worker he was. But she also heard he was not like the other 16-year-old boys in
Perry County. That's just
Perry County.
Yeah, that's just the name of a town. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Abe was different because he spent all of her spare time reading books.
Remember, not her, of his.
Oh, right.
It's all right.
His spare time reading books. Why are you running so fast? Abe asked. Are you hurt? Jane
frowned.
Frowned?
Uh-huh.
Frowned. No, I'm all right, she said. I'm running because I'm upset. My parents want me to learn to read, but I told them no.
Okay. Now, you know what this word frowned means?
No.
Okay, good. Let's take a look at frown.
Frowned, like frown.
愁眉苦脸，皱眉头。
Is that
so if I'm
frown?
looking like this, you see my
Yeah,
that's a frown, like, a trouble, as they say, a troubled look, like I'm frowning. I'm frowning. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
like there is no F, like They didn't pronounce the F because it's frown. I didn't hear the F.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's frowned.
Ah, it's
Frown.
frown. All right. It's frown. Frown.
Yeah. So she's upset because her parents want her to learn to read and she wants to farm. So here's the picture of her talking to him. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Abe looked down.
Abe looked down at his book and then at Jane. Reading can change your life, he said
Quietly.
quietly. Like it's strange, like he said quietly. That's
Yeah.
quiet means he didn't say anything. Well, meet me here tomorrow and I will prove to you how important reading is. Jane met Abe the next afternoon. He showed her a book about
All right.
George Washington.
Oh, yeah. Now let me explain. George Washington was our first president.
Ah, president. I know.
Okay. All right. So he's showing her a book about the first president because so one of his favorite teachers
had donated it to him. Donated it to him.
Right.
And he had read it many times.
Read it. In this case,
read it.
Read it.
Right. Read it.
Right.
All right. It passed.
Yeah.
Read it many times. Abe began to read aloud. Jane listened carefully. He write about Washington.
He read
about Washington and what a great leader he was.
Good.
He read about Washington's courage and bravery.
Right, good. Now, so far you're understanding, yeah?
Right, like they just change read and write so often. That's
right, exactly. Okay.
I need to consider before I read that word.
That's okay. No, you're doing very well. All right. So, all right. So you want to read this someday?
Someday I want to be as courageous as George Washington, and said Abe proudly. Someday I will be president of the United States too.
Right.
Now,
you know this word courageous?
As courageous as no, like.
All right.
It's come from courage, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's another form of courage. He's saying, I want to have as much courage as George Washington. So the way you say it in English, I want to be as courageous as George Washington. It's another way of saying it. So, all right. So she says, I believe
you will make a great president.
Right.
Said Jane. Look at what a good leader you are now. You completely changed my mind about reading. Abe smiled. Tell your parents you will learn to read. He said, then meet me here every day after school. We will read together and I will help you.
Okay, good. You want to read?
At first, Jane was nervous and uncertain about learning to read, but he might Abe every day like.
But she met Abe.
Oh, she met Abe every day like clockwork. Fortunately, Jane's intense dislike for reading was only a temporary feeling. She was getting a hang of it. As a result, her nervousness began to disappear. And one afternoon, Abe surprised her. To her amazement, he gave her his favorite book.
Okay, good. All right, now let's just go over, because some of these things, the English is not exactly clear, but All right. Now, do you know this? All right. But she met Abe every day like clock.
Clockwork.
You know
I
what that
can
means?
I can understand that like clockwork, just very, every day and almost never late. So
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, just take a look. Clockwork. Clockwork.
发条
uh
Maybe
like
that's-
it's not completely correct, but I can understand that.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. And you're right. She met him every day, and she was never late. That's what that term means. And so let's just go over. Okay, so fortunately, Jane's intense dislike for reading was only a temporary feeling. Do you remember what that word means? Temporary?
Short, like
Right.
short time.
Not permanent. Not permanent. That means it's going to change.
Yeah,
Something
very quickly.
temporary is going to change. And okay, now this is another expression. She was getting the hang of it.
Yes, I want to ask that. Like getting.
Yeah, okay. So that's just the way we talk. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can get getting the hang of it. It's probably not a good translation.
Yeah, I think it's correct. Like it means he already mastered it. Like he already
Yes.
know it very clearly.
Right. Getting the hang of it is sort of like getting to know how to do it. Getting to know how to do it. All right, so that's what that means. And then, so her nervousness disappeared. Okay, and then he gave her his favorite
book.
Right. So look at how they're dressed too. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh God. Look at how they're dressed. You see, they're dressed in suspenders here.
I understand. Like I saw some movie about that time, like that century. Like 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 Abe Lincoln just were like people who can who read, and also people who live in countryside.
Exactly, the countryside. But I want to show you something interesting about America. We have people, I don't know if you've ever heard of them. We have people in the United States that still dress like that. Do you know that?
Is that the people who will always wear a cap, like dry? I may know that, like, but I don't know his name. But I know that.
Okay, this is one group they're called Amish people, and this is what they look like now. They do not drive cars. They do not use electricity. They use a horse and buggy here.
Oh, right. So now, like, they really exist. It's amazed me, surprised me.
And two, they're all farmers, and they work together, and they're very, very rich. They're very rich. They have a lot of money.
Wow.
And so this is one group, Amish people. I just wanted you to show this. And then there's another group. I wonder if, let me just see if I can get this. Quakers. All right, this is similar. They're similar. This is another group called the Quakers. And then one more thing, then there's also the the Mennonites too. They're it's hard to tell, but it's the same kind of thing. They don't use electricity, and this is how the women look with the long skirts, and
I know, like, I want to say that they dress like a nurse, a nurse like with that
Similar,
mask.
similar, but it's what we call very old-fashioned because, and
Mm,
and they're very religious, very religious.
I
So,
understand, like dress like it's really like nuns, like Asian, more Asian nuns.
right, right,
Like,
right, right, right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted you to see that that was the way people dressed in the old days too. Okay, so she says, "Thank you," she said.
thank you, she said. Now that I can read, I don't ever want to stop. Years later, Jane opened her newspaper and read a good news.
And
Her
read,
friend
because past.
read,
Uh-huh.
right, read read the good news. Her friend Abe Lincoln had been
Elected.
elected elected president of the United States. He smiled and thought about the day he
She
trapped it,
she
trapped it,
tripped. She tripped
tripped, tripped, tripped
over.
over his long legs. That was the day that changed her life.
So he taught her to read. And so that was the day he changed her
Uh,
life. So here's the newspaper article. Maybe you want to try to read that. Lincoln elected. Abe Lincoln.
Lincoln elected. Abe Lincoln elected 16th president,
Right.
November 6,
18.
1860.
Right. Illinois.
Uh,
Illinois is a state in America. Illinois.
Illinois
Senator
Senator
Abraham
uh,
Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln
Uh-huh.
was elected 16th President of the United States of America. He defeated three other
Candidate.
candidates in the November 1860 election.
Right. Now, do you understand? Do you know what the word candidate is?
I don't know, but someone who wants to be president too, and they just have a
Right. You're right. So,
table.
well, let me just, but you candidate. All right. Here it is.
Right. Like there
But
are several people, and they made a speech, and people choose who want to choice.
right. Now, but wait, one more thing. If you, let's say you go for a job, okay?
Mhm.
And let's say I go for a job, and let's say your friend goes for a job. All three of us are candidates
Yeah.
for the
Candidate.
job. So you can use,
求职者
so you could say another way of using the word candidate, not just for presidency, but for a job. If you're a candidate, it means you're if you are a candidate, God, candidate, it means you have entered the race.
Yeah, like
So if you, me, and your friend want the same job, we are in a race. I want to win, you want to win, your friend wants to win. All four candidates, because in a way it's a race. One of us is going to get the job, only one. So
right. So we take an interview, like kind of interview by the maybe the master or manager of that company. So like we just give a speech, or from our action, that's what we were choosing.
right. But the thing is that all three of us are candidates for the job, because okay, so all right, so that's pretty obvious, I guess, here. Okay, and so okay, so all right, now they're just asking a review, really. How did Abe change Jane's life?
Like he like they met really accidentally, like
Good. Right.
accidentally, and like Abe changed from giving him a book about like giving him a story about that
Gave her.
gave her yeah, gave her a book about like read for her about a book that's Washington, that's
Right. George
President
Washington a book on George Washington, about George Washington. Right.
like it's a little bit amazing like for me that like he just loved loved reading from only one book, but maybe it's just like
Well, I
it's
don't know if it's just
wonderful.
well, I think that they were saying it was his favorite book. He read a lot. It was his favorite book, but
Right. Like I just I'm amazing about why Jean just gets in feel love with reading by only one book that is very amazing. Maybe he will just like a book about that president, and he likes that like Lincoln knows so much from reading.
right, exactly. And that was unusual, like I was saying. It was very unusual.
Right.
One of reasons, one of the reasons that he is so famous in America is because he was very, very, very poor. Very poor. He lived in that log cabin and there was no electricity. So when he read at night, it was by candlelight.
I understand, no electricity.
Right, no electricity. So you imagine it's all dark outside and you're trying to read and you have to light a candle so that you
Right,
can
I
read the words.
understand. Because he's poor, so he only wins that's the competition because of his kindness or bravery or courage, but not his money, his famous like kindness.
Exactly. And the fact that he could become the president even though he was very poor. By the way, you cannot become president now if you are very poor. Not possible. But in the old days, it was possible to do that. Yeah, and that's like the great American tradition that anybody can become successful. Anybody can become rich. You just have to work at it, but you can do it. So that's very American, very American.
Very great, like poor people become a president because maybe they know more, like they actually live in a poor environment, so they know more what poor people really need or what they really
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. You're right. All right, so that's pretty much the end of the class and the end of the story. All right,
right.
so what is today? It's Tuesday. Okay, so hopefully I will see you